All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's Safeoclock Health and Safety Interactive Workshop. So as our culture has been, we'll start with a brief presentation, which will last like 5 to 10 minutes, introducing the topic and opening the floor for us to start deliberating on the topic of the day. So today's topic is on incident statistics calculation. So what do we want to achieve? We want to know the basic parameters that are used in incident calculations and how they become of importance to us and the major reasons why we do this calculation. So we don't just get up and start calculating incident. There are reasons, rationales behind them. Okay. So why do we do incident calculation? So the safety metrics usually tells us stories about operational risk. Okay, so when we deal with the numbers, so it helps us to understand better the level of damage or the level of risk that the organization or the workplace is exposed to. Okay, for instance, when we calculate incident frequency rate, and we have a figure, we have a value. So we can easily look at that value and say, this value is higher than the value we got last year. So it means our health and safety status is going below or is improving. Okay, so based on that narrative, that is what numbers or quantitative calculations or quantitative figures helps us to achieve. It helps in instant and immediate action. It can help in taking decisions. So when you already have a figure that tells you about your safety standing, so it helps you to take immediate action and take a stand of what you want to achieve. Okay, so in these calculations, we will be looking at frequency and incidents. So the distinction or the difference between risk to the person, which is the incident, and the risk per hour of exposure, which is frequency. So the risk to the person is the major incident that has happened. Then the frequency is how often it happens, how often that incident happens. That is what we define as the frequency. Okay. Then secondly, for incident calculations, okay, we have different multiplying factors for UK standard and US standard. Okay, so for OSHA standard, which is US, their multiplying factor is the 200,000 hours. That is the baseline multiplier. If you want to do any calculation, incident frequency rate, accident frequency rate, so the multiplying factor that we use is 200,000, which represents 40 hours in a week and 50 weeks in a year. So that is 200,000. But for UK, the multiplying factor is 100,000 hours. So in the course of this presentation, we are going to see how and where we use these multiplying factors to get our values and our figures. Okay, so for US, the major trigger for reporting is medical treatment that is beyond first aid. So if there is any medical treatment that has gone above first aid, then it has to be reported to OSHA. But for UK, the reporting trigger is if there is an incapacitation above 7 days, okay, and other specified major injuries. So that is when it will be reported to RIDO, according to UK Health and Safety Executive. Okay, so then for so in OSHA, according to OSHA in USA, the incident reporting is applied in broad medical spheres. But for UK, it focuses in severe incapacitation. So when there is in severe cases, before you can report to RIDO. Okay. Now, let's go into the calculation proper. The first one we are going to calculate is known as accident incident rate. So accident incident rate simply means the rate of accident occurring per 100,000 employees. That is the major definition. That's accident incident rate is the rate of accidents that occurs, okay, per 100,000 employees in that workplace. Now, this 100,000 is the multiplying factor for UK. Remember, we said UK Health and Safety Executives, their own multiplying factor is 100,000. Whereas for USA, OSHA, their own multiplying factor is 200,000. So the example the formula we are using here is the UK multiplying factor. Okay, so it can also be applied in case your workplace is located in areas where you use OSHA standard. You simply change the 100,000 you have here as the average working hours. Just change it to 200. That gives you the value that you are looking for. Okay, so this accident incident rate focuses on measuring the prevalence of accidents within the workplace population. So depends on the fact or your accident incident rate will be having some basis depending on the number of employees you have. So if you have higher employees, then your accident incident rate is expected to be lower compared to somebody that has smaller number of employees. So the formula for calculating accident incident rate is the total number of accidents multiplied by this our multiplying factor, which is 100,000, okay, then divided by the number of employees. So the total number of employees you have, use it to divide the number of accidents multiplied by 100,000. It will give you the figure that you call your accident incident rate. Okay, so let's quickly look at the other calculation known as accident ill health rate or ill health incident rate. So the ill health incident rate simply refers to the number of new cases of work-related ill health. Remember the term work-related ill health. So somebody can come back from vacation with fever, with other ill health or illnesses. It will not appear in this ill health incident rate. We are not looking at those things. We are looking at the incidents that are related to the work, those ones that occurred in the course of the work or in the course or in line of duty. So those are referred to as work-related ill health. So work ill health incident rate is the number of new cases of work-related ill health reported per number of per 100,000 employees. Remember, the multiplier factor we are using here is the UK Health and Safety Executive factor, which is 100,000. Okay, so it usually focuses on the chronic or acute health effects rather than the safety of the incident number. So it's focusing on the ill health. So the formula of IIR, which is ill health incident rate, is new health cases multiplied by 100,000, then divided by number of employees. So with that formula, you can simply get it. Don't just input the numbers, press your calculator, you get your number, your value for ill health incident rate. So the other parameters to calculate is known as accident frequency rate. So this is the number of accidents occurring per 100,000 man-hours worked. The number of accidents occurring per 100,000 man-hours worked. Okay, so this is majorly focusing on the number of accidents based on how often you have done the job, based on the number of hours you have covered in doing the job. So it's what gives us our accident frequency rate. So the formula for AFR is total number of accidents multiplied by our 100,000, which is our multiplying factor, divided by the total man hours worked. Okay, so towards the end, I would tell us how we get total man hours worked, but that is a very simple calculation as well. Then the ill health frequency rate is just the number of new work-related ill health per 100,000 man hours covered or man hours worked. Okay, the formula is the new health cases multiplied by 100,000 divided by total man hours worked. Then accident frequency, accident severity rate. The first one we looked at is frequency rate, but this one now is severity rate. Severity, from our basic knowledge of safety, talks about the impact, the level of impact that hazardous event has occurred, or in this case, that the accident has brought upon the company. Okay, the level of impact is what we refer to as severity. So in our calculation of accident severity rate, we are looking at the number of days lost due to that accident per 100,000 man hours worked. Okay, so usually this calculation is highlighting the magnitude of safety failures that the management was not able to prevent. Okay, the formula for getting our ASR, which is accident severity rate, is total days lost, okay, multiplied by 100,000 divided by the total man hours worked. So we have another parameter known as the mean duration rate. So the mean duration rate is helps us to get the average number of days lost per single accident. So when an accident happens, we want to get the number of days lost because of that accident or because of that particular case. So it's focusing on that particular case. You get the mean duration of impact or average number of days lost because of that. For instance, if the accident involved maybe 10 people got injured, okay, in the course of the single accident. So you want to get the mean duration rate, that is the level of impact or the average number of days that was lost because of that a single accident. So that single accident did not affect just one person, but the multiple people that were affected had lost days. So the mean duration rate will help us to get the total number of days that was lost because of that single accident. Okay, so the formula for the mean duration rate is total days lost divided by the number of accidents. Okay, so one thing that you have to note in all these calculations is you have to pick a fixed number of duration or days. For instance, if your calculation is per 1 month, okay, maybe you want to get the mean duration for 1 month. That means you are going to be focusing on accident that happens within that 1 month. So, but if you are calculating for 1 year or for 6 months, that means you'll be focusing on accident that happens within that period for your result to be accurate. Okay. Then the other parameter that we usually calculate is known as total recordable incident rate. The TRIR is a calculation that helps us to know the total number of recordable injuries and illness that occurred in the workplace. Okay. That simply means there are some ill health that we might consider that they are not recordable. But according to Rido has some illness, they have some incidents that are recordable, classified as recordable incident. So that is what we are calculating here. Okay. So the formula for TRIR is the number of recordable injuries that happened multiplied by 100,000, then divided by the total hours worked by all employees. So the total number of hours, use it to divide the number of injuries multiplied by 100,000. 100,000 still remains our multiplying factor from Health and Safety Executive of UK. So the other factor that we usually calculate is known as days away, restricted, or job transfer rate. It's known as DART, days away, restricted, or you can say days away, days restricted, or days job transfer rate. So we abbreviate it as DAT. So this simply is a calculation that measures the injuries that result in at least 1 day away from work. So if an injury happened, but if an incident happens, but somebody didn't take leave, somebody didn't take off because of that incident. So we are not going to put it as part of this, our parameter. We are not going to calculate it here. Okay. For instance, somebody got injured on the finger, okay, and he got first aid treatment, and he went back to work. Maybe he would change his job, he went to another job, but he didn't go home. We didn't lose any man hour or man day for that incident. So we are not going to calculate that incident on this hour, that calculation. Okay, so the formula for calculating that is the number of days away, restricted, or job transfer rate cases multiplied by 100,000. Sorry, this is an error. We are still using 100,000 because of UK multiplying factor. It's 200,000 if it's OSHA USA multiplying factor, which is 200,000. Then divided by the total hours worked by all employees. That is how to calculate that rate. So the other factor that is calculated is known as lost time injury frequency rate. The lost time injury frequency rate is a calculation or a measure that measures the injuries that result in at least 1 day away from work. Okay, so we are trying to measure how often that injuries that led to 1 day away from work occurred. Okay, so that is what we calculate when we are saying lost time injury frequency rate. How often, how frequently do we record an incident that leads to 1 day or a worker taking 1 day off? So that is what this calculation simply means. Okay, and the formula is number of lost time cases, okay, multiplied by 1 million divided by total hours worked. Okay, let's Mr. Kevin.
I have a good evening.
Good evening.
I have a question, a quick one. If a worker faints and regains consciousness almost immediately after a few minutes, is this a recordable incident?
It's recordable, yes.
Okay. There's need for it to be included?
Yes, it's recordable because you are not you are going to investigate to find out what really happened. So it doesn't disappear into thin air. Something happened and there is a root cause for it. So for us to get to that root cause, we have to record it. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So I was talking about lost time injury frequency rate. So to calculate that, we use the number of lost time cases multiplied by 1 million, then divided by total hours worked. The other factor or the other parameter we calculate is known as lost workday incident rate. Lost workday incident rate calculates the rate of incidents that involve lost work days. Okay, so not all incidents will lead to a lost work day. Okay, so the formula is number of lost work days multiplied by 200,000 if you are using OSHA standard, but 100,000 if you are using UK Health and Safety Executive multiplying factor, which is 100,000. Then divided by the total hours worked by all employees. Okay, so this is the formula that helps us to achieve these things. Okay. That is the end of my presentation. I want to leave it there so that we have some room to discuss around it and we have some valuable points to contribute as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Johnson. I think the slide we are seeing now should come first. This slide should have come first from the beginning. Mine is just comments, not just a comment. So, based on the definitions concerning the different incident frequency rates that you have given us the definition and the formulas for calculating them, very accurate, straight to the point, simplifying and differentiating between the UK HSE calculation requirement and also that of OSHA, which is 200,000. Now, I don't know, maybe for clarity, we have used some terms, acronym like restricted, total recordable total recordable incident rate, right? Calculating for that, and also the lost time injury cases. Is now using that acronym, lost time incident cases. I believe there are some parameters that you would multiply to give you the lost time incident rate. What are those parameters? For example, like the medical treatment case, restricted work case, workday cases. So, what are those parameters? I hope you understand my question.
No, I didn't understand your question clearly, but you can go ahead and expatiate. Don't bring it as a question. Go ahead and educate us on that. From the beginning, I told you that I know that some of you has done more advanced courses on this topic than me. So I'm exposing the topic, then allow us to share more insight on it.
Anyways, the floor is open. I want to go check
Yeah.
to be sure of what I want to say. Please, if anyone has any contribution, comments, you can go ahead while I do my check, and I would.
Yes, Mr.
Hello?
Johnson. Yeah, good evening. Hello, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah, good evening.
Hello. Yes, I just want to say that this subject matter is coming at the right time, man. You know that I even got to the fact that we don't have any webinar, so I came on board late. You understand? So, but it's fine. So what I just wanted to add to what has been said is, in the organization I work, all these statistics, there's a program that is designed, a worksheet, let's say worksheet. The formula for calculating these things, they're already imputed in the system. So if you just put all your parameters, your TROI, your LTIs, all of them, they pop up. You understand? So that's why most of the time I don't I'm not involved in calculating these things. I would say, well, since when I joined, like 10 minutes ago, I've learned one or two things, and it go a long way in helping me understand more about this subject matter. So it's a welcome one. We do appreciate the time. We do appreciate your expose, or what you said concerning the topic, subject matter. So I really appreciate the time, and I want to say that we try as much as possible that at the end of the day we maintain the Thursday meetings we always have. It will help us a great deal. You see, I was always skipping, forgetting that Thursday is my safety day. Owing to the fact that for two weeks now we've not done it. So, and really it has not really helped me, to be frank with you. My safety experience has not really improved owing to these 2 days, two weeks that we missed. Miss, I want to really appreciate you for all you're doing, and the entire team. I do appreciate you guys. You're really doing much. Also, you the moderator, the presenter. You see, it's not always easy for you to go at length in getting these things and bringing it to us. So I want to encourage you. Never let your good work. Never let it go down. So we appreciate you. So continue doing your good work. It is well appreciated. So those are just the few things I just want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Omojede, for your wonderful contribution and your participation often. Mr. Kevin, go ahead.
I have another question just for clarity. You've explained that when a worker, for one reason or another, loses consciousness, but he regains it, it has to be recordable. I'll further go in coming from a first aid perspective, if there's an incident where a worker falls ill and is given prescription antibiotics medications, and then is allowed to go back to work later on. This is a medical case, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Is it termed as a medical treatment case or a restricted work case? I have some contention with that because I came along that information a while back, but it wasn't so clear to me. So if you can share some clarity on that.
You're saying if the person
Falls
have,
ill?
if he felt ill and
Yes,
he later went back to work.
yes, but he was prescribed prescription medications, but later on he was allowed to go back to work. Is that a medical treatment case or a restricted work case? And what's the difference?
Actually, it's not a. Okay, Omojede, go ahead first.
Yes,
Omojede,
yes, I want to say something here. This is a very a question that is quite a tricky one. It's tricky because or the fact that a worker, like you said just now, you said an investigation ought to be conducted after that. Very important. Now, the fact that a worker collapsed and all of a sudden he rose up again is normal. Doesn't mean that they will not be LTI at the end of the day. Now, it's very important that we make this clear. If a worker falls in the course of doing his job and did not sustain any injury, and he came up again, became strong, that doesn't mean that you should allow him continue to work. If that's because you want to conduct an investigation to make the worker leave work for a month, then that should be it. It's justified. Because if a worker falls, how about if you don't want to conduct an investigation, you allow this worker to continue to be on site, and he now falls again, and he falls in the water. So what I'm saying here is, for the fact that a worker has fallen by virtue of the fact that he's working, you stop him from working at exactly that, even if he's sound, he's still strong, stop him from working that time, conduct a root cause analysis on what really took place, then make sure that preventive measure has been put in place, is being given the right treatment before it's being allowed to continue work. So even if investigation is being conducted, it takes the worker a month or 2 months out of sight, it is justified because you are trying to make sure that this thing doesn't recur, of which we know this is the basis for every accident investigation, or every accident that has been reported at the workplace. That's my little contribution on what question that this guy just asked. Thank you.
all right. Thank you, Omojede. You actually made justice to that clarifications. So we don't usually use just one particular sentence to categorize incident. Okay, so it can be something that happens temporarily, but there is still later on it can extend beyond that. So I'll leave it at that. Do you have any further contributions?
All right. So earlier today, a worker, had a twist ankle in one of the areas in our construction work site, and I think that was a bit close by to that area, and our HSE lead immediately beckoned on me and told me, "Oh, a worker just sustained a twist ankle." I said, "Okay, let's go right there to the area." And when I got there, I asked them if they've called on the emergency rescue team. They said yes. I asked them to remove the safety boots of the worker. They removed. I asked the worker to place his leg on top of the bench that was there because they took him to the nearest shelter. And of course, I started investigating institutes, started asking questions. I discovered that same worker in the month of September 30th to be precise, has also experienced twins ankle on same leg, on his right leg. And that incident gave us a restricted work case for him, right? And again, the same worker is now having these twins ankle. When I asked him what task was he performing when he experienced this, he told me he actually went to carry some, peri formwork material, and he's taking them from the laydown area to the work site, which was his work area, which was very close to him. And I asked him, when he was walking, does he realize that walking is walking? Was it looking at his front, was it? And I asked him, when you're carrying those items and you're walking, where did you place it on your body? He said on his shoulder. Okay, fine. You're walking. Uh, which side, which position are you looking at? He says looking at his front. All right. So what did you step on? He said he stepped on a stone, maybe a border, and he got the leg twist. But the point I want to raise here now is synonymous to the situation, the case that was just deliberated. So you can imagine that same worker now is having the same incident, twice. And when the emergency rescue team came, they took over from there. But I told our incident investigator, the coordinator, and I told him, look, this is beyond just uh, the investigation, right? We are going to do a deep dive. We are going to look at this guy's history properly because this cannot be happening same leg, twins ankle and all of that. And he was walking on a plain level ground, So things like this, situations like this, do happen. And I'm just sharing this just to add more uh, color to what Mojade has earlier said. You understand? So when some events unfold, we don't just overlook it, because maybe in a couple of days or time, the same thing might result again. So this is what we experienced today in my own site. And any per-state case that goes beyond the medical treatment, any per-state case that gets to a medical treatment or goes beyond medical treatment is recordable. And if a worker loses consciousness, of course, it's also a recordable incident. All right. So the normal investigation will be carried out to determine what, just like as Johnson has earlier also mentioned, proper investigation will be done just to determine what actually was the root cause, so that they can prevent the reoccurrence of such incidents in the work site. This is my summation.
All right, Mr. David, thank you very much for your contribution. Amojede, your hand is still up. Is it the previous one?
Yeah, Mr. Johnson, I just want to add to what I said before and just buttress what Mr. Mr. Dave has talked about too. You see, let us be frank. Let us be frank about HSC. You see, I want to say some things here that it's not really helping the profession. Why I'm saying this is, or what I'm talking about, I guess you guys already know about it. KPIs. This issue of KPI is what it is good. Is good to make sure that we meet our KPI. But if because we know that lost time injuries or lost day from work would disturb our KPI and will not report or will continue to say workers should continue to work at the workplace, then it's not a good thing. Now, I believe why KPI was put there is for the fact that at least we should have a guideline to help us so that we know that if we are going below par, then we regulate ourselves. If we are doing better, then what we continue doing better. But for the fact that we don't want to disturb our KPI and will not reflect or put what is on the real what really happened at the workplace on the safety statistics at the end of the month, it's not helping safety. That has to be said, because you see, all it's all about let the safety records be clean, let it be nice. But at the end of the day, it's not helping us because cases will not be reported, incidents will not be reported, workers will shut their mouth because they feel that at the end of the day, the right thing will not be done. It's really a distortion to safety. So this KPI issue, we as safety professionals, we should approach it the right way. KPI should give us a guideline on how we are performing on safety. KPI, Father, we have a KPI, should not stop us from reporting incidents that really happen at the workplace so that we, at the end of the day, we'll learn from these happenings. And this will help us to build our performance at the end of the day. So that's just a little thing I want to say. Then apart from that, you see there are some conditions, there are some medical conditions that warrant us to stop a worker that maybe because of work fell down, nothing making him to fall, he just fell down. Some kind of conditions, epilepsy, some kind of medical conditions can cause that. So if you will say a worker should continue to be at the workplace just because you don't want to register any LTI, he fell down, going to be on the workplace, it can lead to a serious issue. Now, I was working in the work site some years ago. A colleague used a firewash. He fell down. He fell down on an A-frame, that used to lift up a pipe. He fell down on an A-frame, and it was sheer luck that made him not to fall into the water. Adjoining a water, A-frame is being suspended on water. So it was very sheer luck that made him not to fall into the water. And if he had fallen, and we found out at the end of the day, this guy had epilepsy. If this guy had fallen down into that water, what would have happened? It would have drowned. So what are we trying to say? And after that thing happened, they had to do a retrace back to his medical history. They found out that actually he had that condition before he even came to the workplace. So what I found out still is in construction sites, people don't no longer bother about medical history. All they bother about how the work can smoothly run. It is not supposed to be. It should be a survey, a kind of health monitoring that should be done every now and then. Workers should check their vital signs, their BPs, their glucose, the sugar level, all this, and they ought to be checked in the course of doing their work. Because some projects can last as long as 1 year, 2 years. Imagine you being at the work site, no health monitoring, nothing is being done. All you are concerned is how this work can be completed on time. It ought not to be. So those are the little things that I said. Let me add to what I previously said. Thank you for the time.
All right, thank you, Amajede. David, go ahead, please.
All right. Okay. I'm grateful for this platform because it's a knowledge sharing platform. So actually, Omojade made a very valid point when he said conditions, conditions, the health conditions of every worker needs to be understood, right? So I just want to use my current place of work as an example, to show how we are monitoring the health conditions of every worker. So during onboarding in our project, everyone passes through the pre-mobilization medical exercise. Apart from conducting companies' medical, pre-employment medicals, those medical results are submitted to the project medical team. So the project medical team and the project medical doctor, they are going to conduct another pre-medical examination on you while on the site here to justify if that medical result you have submitted is authentic or not. And one of the key parameters they look at is your BP level. So after that medical, some persons, if they are not lucky, they are sent back, maybe due to their health condition or something. They told them, sorry, you can't work on this hazardous construction site. Now, there are several categories of workers, people you find in the site. Not everyone is permitted to, perform a work task at elevation, that is working at height. And not everyone on the construction site is also permitted to work in a confined space. This is determined after the medical um, evaluation that is carried out on each person. So, if if after your medical
Okay, guys,
examination,
sorry for that delay. I had other things that took my distance. So let's see if we can round up.
okay, maybe I'll just stop here because the point I'm trying to make is that after your medical, they will stamp your passbook. If you are fit to work in confined space or work at night. But if there is a restriction, that will be stamped on your passbook. And once your passbook is stamped restriction on either for work at night or confined space, you will never be allowed to get involved or participate in such work activity. So that is how we control people with some health conditions in the construction site. Thank you. I think our session is concluded because Mr. Johnson has gone back to his other class. So I'll call
Yeah, I
it
think so.
a day.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Looking
Yeah.
forward
Thanks,
to
everybody.
Thursday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.